large. Let's do it like this because I don't think we managed. You managed to read, perhaps?
There is in the bottom there are two little display icons.
Like this.
Check. No, the other icons.
Which one?
If you go, that one. No. More.
Is that okay?
No.
No. There is a banner. Which one? This one?
Yes.
This one? No.
It's better anyway.
It's better.
No.
But try the other one. There is another one.
I would like to, but I don't manage.
Escape. The first TV.
This one?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but no. Well, okay. Anyway, you managed to read? No.
First one.
First one, perhaps. The banner. How to get rid? Let's do like this. Okay, like this. It's okay?
Much better.
More or less.
Much better.
Okay. So, any building form. So, my IT experts have taught me. Every building form has to have a first part which is absolutely essential. The general information. This looks to be the most stupid, but this is the most important part, because without this you don't do any inventory and any GIS. It's the part which concerns the identification of the building. As I said in the very beginning, a GIS works with a database and a map. And all the information you have in the database have to be related to the map, to the base map. Every record of the database has to correspond to a specific object on the map. Then you can call your object George, Elizabeth, as you like, but you cannot have two George or two Elizabeth or three Daniel, because otherwise you don't manage to make the connection between the database and the map. This is clear. So in order to make this connection, any building have to have a number or a name, as you like. Normally the name of the building is given by a series of numbers and letters. You remember we have divided all Sana'a in 12 or 15, I don't remember, parts, quarters, areas, or whatever. Each quarter has a number, A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, as you like. Within the quarters, we identify the blocks, and every block has as well a number, a letter, or whatever. Then within the block, every building has a number. So we have the quarter, the block, and the building. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, whatever. So in the end, the ID building, it's a number. We put here a number, but in reality, this number show us which is the quarter, which is the block within the quarter, and which is the building within the block. This is a method. You can find other methods, but what is important is that every building, each individual building, or each individual object, I would prefer to call it object, has an ID number. I repeat, this seems to be a stupid story, but this is the very start of every inventory which can to be used through a GIS. In the past, the problem did not exist because when everything was made by hand, the only problem was to take the sheet prepared at hand and to transfer the data on a map or on a set of maps. Now this works is done, this transfer of the information to the map, or vice versa, the query to the GIS can be done, is done to the computer, and what you need is to know what is the name of the record or the building you are looking for. This opens another question. I'm talking of building or object or whatever, and I'm making confusion. But this is a very fundamental thing. Which is the object you are recording, you are doing record of? In other cases, the object was not the building, but it was the property. Because we had a cadastral map, and we have the identification of the properties of the plot, if you want. In that case, if you want, I can show you tomorrow other examples from other places. Perhaps the thing is more complicated because within a plot you can have more buildings. So since in the end, what kind of regulation you want to do? If it is a regulation which is related to the plot, it is enough to give the name to the plot. That's all. But if you want to do a regulation which is aimed at plots and to the buildings, or both of them, you need to give an ID number to the plot and an ID number also to the buildings within the plot. Because in a plot you can have more than one building, for instance. So I don't know if this is clear, but this is a very crucial point. First, you have to decide you are doing the inventory of what? Plots, buildings. Sometimes, there is there are GIS which gather the information by block. In that case, your ID number should be given to the block. No? But it's important to know what you are going to do the inventory of. And so this is not a stupid question. This is a fundamental question because it refers to the kind of plan, the kind of regulation you want to apply. This is, I hope this is clear. This is the first step. Then, well, as you can see here, we have buildings, non-built-up area, that is all the open areas that may be within the building, in between the buildings. Well, I hope it's clear that we have chosen building here because we didn't have any cadastral map and we didn't have any clear and reliable identification of the properties. Just one advice based on experience. Never rely, never trust on information that are not certified, which doesn't have a clear document as a reference. So remember, the surveyor will say, no, but we know who these houses belongs to. We know what the property is. We can ask. No. It can be good 70% of the case. There are 30% of the cases which is not possible to get the information. And this would completely destroy your system because if you base your system on the property and you have 30% of the cases where it is not possible to identify the property, you don't manage to have an homogeneous set of information for all your properties or buildings or whatever. So you have to choose the object to make the inventory of, the object you are sure of, that you can see. That's it, and and most of all, the object that you can identify on the map with a closed perimeter. Because if the perimeter is open, as you know, it doesn't work. So it has to be an object on the map, object in the technical term, and a record on the database. I hope this is clear in your mind, because if you don't have this clear in your mind, It's useless to do the inventory to get used to the GIS. So here we have buildings, non-built up areas, and Bustan Mekshamat Sahara. These are the kind of agricultural land, urban agricultural land. Then, also it is important to have information concerning the surveyors, the date of the survey and the name of the surveyors. I don't want to have the name of the inhabitants or the name of the owner of the building, but I want to have the name of the surveyor. And you know why? Because when we are going to do the data entry, for sure there is something, it could happen that there is some information that is unclear. And you have to know who got this information. So you have to know who is the surveyor, call him and ask him, please come here, I don't understand this. What did you mean? Did you put the cross here or there? You know, or to have some more information. Then the attachment. So you can have many different attachments. You can have you can attach documents, written documents. You can attach I don't know, archival documents in PDF or image. In this case, we attached many photos because every building that was surveyed was also photographed, you know, and we took sometimes dozens of photographs of each building because what is important is to have a documentation that you can check when you do the data entry. You will understand why later, you know. When you do the data entry, most of all for all the questions which may include evaluations, you know, you need to check it later. You need to control, you know. And that's why the more photographs you have, the better it is, you know. So we still have, I have, perhaps they have lost it, sometimes even 20 photographs for each building. But not to have the beautiful photograph to show on the exhibition. Doesn't matter. If I see something strange, if I see something that I'm not sure of, I take a photograph because then when I do the data entry, I have the possibility to check and to control. You see what I mean? So, concerning the photograph and concerning the attachment, it is extremely important that these are prepared before the data entry. Particularly the photograph and all the documents have to be, again, have to have their ID when you digit and when you save the file. A sort of ID that makes possible to relate the photograph immediately to the building that you are talking of. We always did a folder with photographs and documents for every building with the same ID number of the building. So if you don't do that immediately, and this opens another question, how to organize from the logistic point of view of survey. If you don't do that, you are lost.
I know, because I messed up my work. Because
we all have these experiences. So before going ahead, let me explain to you how we organize the survey in practice. As I told you before, we decided to update the map and to create indeed the base map for the GIS during the survey, because the base map we had was so unreliable that we realized immediately during the test we did with the surveyors, you know, and during the first, that it was impossible to rely on the map. So what we did was the following. The surveyors were team of 2 persons, one with the map and another with the survey sheet. Both of them started read designing the map, updating the map, sorry, on the ground, walking around. Well, of course, you don't need to take measures, you don't need to be too accurate. The map was in scale 1 to 1000, so it was not necessary to, even 1 meter of difference doesn't make any sense, you know. But what is important is that the map gives you the shape, the real shape, or at least the possible shape, a reliable shape of the building. So that in the end you can identify all the buildings in a block. And especially when you have blocks which are quite dense, this is a quite delicate operation. It requires a little bit to be exercised to it. No? So, one of them, the two of them, first started, you know, to update the map for the whole block, block by block. Then they gave numbers to the buildings in the block, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they started to do the survey for each building. We will see the survey now. In the afternoon, for Yemeni people to work in the afternoon, it was considered as a kind of torture, you know, but I mean, they were paid for that and they paid. In the afternoon, the teams, all the teams working in the same quarter, were doing the data entry immediately in the computer, sitting around the same table in order to control and to see if the evaluation were homogeneous. We will understand better this point later on. But most of all, to rename all the, to give the definite name, the definite ID to all the buildings, and to prepare the folders with a photograph. So that name of a building, folder of the photograph. We were sure that at least this was not lost. that's just a start. So then we go through the survey. Date of the survey, name of surveyor. So you understand the date, the name of surveyor is important because you know to whom refer. Then the number of attachment. The survey area is what I said before, is the name of the quarter and so on. Just as a check. Then we started with some general information. The kind of property, private, public, waqf, different owners. The name of the owners, you know, because Yemeni, like you, wanted the name of the owner, which is a useless information, but anyway. But unfortunately, in order to get the name of the owner, they have to interview something in the house, in the building. And this was a loss of time. But anyway. Number of the resident family. I explained already this issue before. To us, it was not important to know how many families were living in the building because we were not doing the census. And we didn't have the money, the time to do the census. But at least we wanted to know if the building was inhabited by one or by more family, because we knew that if the building was inhabited by more families, probably that process of transformation of the building into an apartment block has already happened, you know, and that was important to us. Then the name of a building, because in some cases, well, it can happen everywhere, you know, you have a building with a special name, Palace something, you know, and that is an information that sometimes can be useful. We will see tomorrow in Jerusalem, that was perhaps the main information, the most delicate and the most crucial information. There was a challenge even for the IT, because the names there are 6 possible names in 6 different languages with 3 different characters and so on. Anyway, then second section here was It's evident that in other cases, for other purposes, where you don't, for instance, this issue of building property can be more elaborated, you know. This part can be more elaborated. For instance, it can be important to know if the family is, if the inhabitants are rental or are owners or whatever. In this case, in our case, this was not a very relevant issue because our purpose was simply to have, to set, let's say, general protection measures. And we knew from the start that it was almost, we couldn't talk to all the inhabitants in the house, or we could at the most contact one family or one household for each building. Then, a number of information concerning the architectural features of the building. So the most conventional one, the number of floors. This seems to be a very easy question. In reality, you can have a lot of problems. For instance, if there is the mezzanine, not in Sana'a this was not a problem, there are no mezzanine. But in Sana'a it could be difficult to count the number of floors from outside because of the system of the double windows. And in some case, if you're not able to recognize the double windows, you can count twice the same store, you know. So, so the number of floor plus the mezzanine or the roof terrace. This is an important element. In Sana'a, you don't have a room on the top. From outside, you can understand that is a room. In reality, is a roof which is completely fenced. Sometimes the fencing wall has windows. Can be understood as a floor, but this is not. So, in any case, in Sana'a you don't have pitch roof, but you can have roofs which are not accessible or which are not used as a terrace, let's say. So it was important to know if, together with the number of floors, the presence or not of mezzanine, which in reality they do not exist very often. It was important to know if there was a roof terrace, a terrace that was a roof that can be used as a room in the end. Then to know what are the contemporary elements on the roof, and you can see here aerials, water tanks, lightning sign. This is an important issue because since the roof in Sana'a are mostly accessible, and it's very easy from every house to see the rest of the city from above. Is one of the most beautiful views on Sana'a are from above, and also that's a quite cultural story. I mean, if you want to be at ease, let's say, you know, on the roof, thanks to the fact that you have fences, you know, all around, you can be at ease. I mean, I'm not saying to take the sun because, but this is strongly forbidden. Yemeni have